Hello and welcome back to the Money Mindset Hub podcast. I'm your host, Carla Townsend, and I'm a money mindset and success coach who helps purpose-driven entrepreneurs to shatter their income ceilings and become rich and resilient. So, if you haven't checked out last week's episode, it was all about the 10 broke behaviors that we're going to leave in 2024. Please go and do that after this episode because it is a beautiful continuation, this episode from that. And I really think it's really good to actually reflect on every year and see what was I impressed with this year? What am I grateful for? What did I do well? But then to also actually reflect and go, well, where do I need to pick up my game a little bit? Where did I drop the ball? Where could I have done better? And so I think those 10 behaviors that I discussed in last week's solo episode was a really incredible one because these are things, some of them I was guilty of myself and I had to let them go just in general. And others I have observed many times with many different women that I've worked with along this journey over the past 5 years. So I think that it is crucial to start there and know what are you leaving behind and what are you actually allowing yourself to bring into 2025, which I felt like this was a perfect next solo episode to have, which is all about the success habits that you're bringing into 2025. Like I said, go and listen to episode 120, the 10 broke behaviors to leave in 2024 after this episode because it's a beautiful flow on. Anyway, let's just dive straight in. The first thing that I really want to talk to you about is the fact that you can actually rewire your own brain. Now, the only proven way that you are able to create new neural pathways within your brain, aka in layman's terms, basically just means to change the way that you think, you act, and you respond, right? So when something happens, whether it be someone says something, someone does something, just a situation happens, your automatic default way of responding or thinking or behaving, they are neural pathways. So neurons that fire together, wire together. You've probably heard that before. But you can actually interrupt those neurons and create new neural pathways where you get to decide, I actually don't want to act like that anymore. I don't want to have that reaction. I don't even want to think those thoughts. I actually want to choose to think a new way. You do this through repetition. This is what changes your brain. It definitely takes work. So the first thing for your success habits of 2025 is to successfully rewire your brain. Now, the way that you do this is by interrupting yourself in the moments when you are not acting from your highest self, when you are talking to yourself in a way that is detrimental to you, when you are reacting to a certain stimuli or situation that in your environment in a way that doesn't serve you and is not aligned with your highest good. Let's talk about reactivity for a second, because reactivity is something that you are in control of. The way that you act, the way that you react, and the way that you don't act at all in your control. And you may have heard the saying before, but certain people have a short fuse, for instance, like they just get really angry really fast. That's because they're very triggerable. And I remember doing a session on this in my membership that I've actually now shut down, but I did this beautiful session and I spoke all about how to become un-triggerable. Now, when we talk about triggers for a moment, I just want to give you this understanding because this is another beautiful thing to bring in. One, we're going to bring in the repetition. We're going to interrupt those patterns and we're going to choose new ways of thinking, acting, being, behaving when something happens so that we can continue to fire together new neurons to create new neural pathways. So the second thing is what we're going to do is be very aware of what is triggering you. What is triggering you? Who is triggering you? Why is it triggering you? Because the fact is, what I have realized after doing this for years and doing this for myself, I've been working on myself. Like when I realized that I really needed to look at myself was probably a solid 12 years ago, maybe more. So I've been deep down this rabbit hole of personal development for a very long time. And what I did not know then at the beginning that I wish I knew, which I'm going to give to you now if you don't know this, but your triggers are actually showing you what it is that you want or an area that you know you need to work on because it is actually highlighting a shadow of you. It is a part of your personality that you have repressed or suppressed because you either don't want to show that, you don't believe it is desirable or lovable to be, or act or say or do things in a certain way. So certain people will trigger you. Now, I'll give you an example. I used to get really triggered by women that were very body confident. They had great bodies, they were so body confident. Now, they used to trigger me, and I used to initially put it on them. Like, well, they shouldn't show that much skin, or they shouldn't do this. I was very judgmental until I realized that no, in actual fact, me getting triggered by the appearance of another woman who actually looks after herself is actually highlighting the fact in me that I'm really insecure. And I actually desire to be that confident. So it was a part of me that I had repressed and suppressed. And I was putting the blame on them, like they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't wear that, or, who are they to be like that? Anyway, judgment. Wherever you are judging someone, wherever you are pointing the finger, that is a very good sign that there is a part of you that is just desiring and yearning to actually open up because they want that. So just be really aware. So that's another thing we're going to bring into 2025 is actually being really aware of your triggers and taking full responsibility. Because like I said, you can only control how you act, how you react, and how you don't act at all. And when something is triggering you, it is either highlighting a shadow that you are maybe unaware of, or you're just not ready to accept and allow to come out yet, or it's showing you something that you actually want. It's annoying you for a reason, so look at them. Now, the next thing we're going to get rid of that really ties into this is blaming. Blaming, shaming, guilting behavior. Now, everybody's human, right? We're all human listening to this. Also, majority of us are women with hormones and cycles, and many of us are mothers and we're wearing many hats. I totally understand. But I really want us to get rid of this blaming other people for certain things. Yes, sometimes things are out of our hands, right? Sometimes things are out of our hands. Sometimes the result of something happening wasn't up to us and it's not exactly how we intended. But blaming, shaming, whinging, gossiping about someone for something that you cannot change and that is already in the past, it is irrelevant and it's not supporting you going forward. So we cannot blame and shame and guilt our way into our highest consciousness. It's just not going to happen. So whenever we're doing that, I just want you to remember to take full responsibility, because we are not in victim land here. We are not playing in that. We are taking full responsibility of our lives, of our 2025 and what we're here to do. So I have said this to every one of my clients from the very beginning, but when it also comes to money, I do not care what mistakes you have made, what decisions were in the past, what happened that was maybe not your fault. Like, that's fine. It's in the past. Accept it. It's done. Let's move on. But just because you made bad decisions, like maybe at this point you actually say to yourself still, like, I'm just not that good with money. You know, I seem to get ahead and then all of a sudden I've just lost it all. I've spent it all and I don't know where it's going and I just want to be better, but I just keep making silly mistakes and whatever it might be, this record that you're internally playing towards yourself about you and your relationship with money, or you and your past behaviors with money. I want it to be also stop here. So this is something we're not going to bring in either. We're going to let it go and we're just going to accept ourselves for all our mistakes, for the good, the bad, the ugly, right? We're all human again. So we make mistakes. Things don't always go to plan. But the fact of the matter is that just because maybe you made decisions in the past with money that weren't great, maybe in business that weren't great, and you learnt the lesson, always look for the lesson. These are the things that help me the most. And these have 100% undoubtedly changed my entire brain, the way that I think, the way that I operate. And they're what I wish I had have known, honestly, 12 years ago at the beginning. So I don't have to take so long to figure it out. Get rid of shame, the blame. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anybody. Now, I will link to a couple of episodes too, because they were so good. I went back and listened to them because I knew there was things that I've spoken about on this podcast before that are just timeless. Like, I want the podcast to be timeless. This will be episode 122. And I have been doing this podcast now since September 2021. So we've got quite a few episodes. If you go back and listen to number 10 and number 12, oh, they will fire. Episode 10, episode 12, I will link them in the show notes, but they are pure gold. So go and listen to those because they're very much in line with this and you're going to get so much wisdom from them. And it definitely inspired me and ignited me to get on here and give this to you. So let's wrap it up because this is what we're going to go and do in 2025 to build these habits of success. We're not going to blame and shame and guilt and worry about the past anymore. We're going to let it go. We're going to notice what's actually triggering us and we're going to focus on that and work on that so that we become un-triggerable. It is an art. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes repetition. We're going to interrupt the shitty thoughts, the shitty language that we speak to ourselves, because the fact of the matter is you wouldn't speak to your best friend the way that you speak to yourself. But for some reason, we don't seem to think that that's that important sometimes. So the words that you say out loud, the words that you actually speak to yourself when you doubt yourself, when you question yourself, when you tell yourself all these things about, you're not being worthy, you're not enough, you don't know enough, you got to do this, you got to do that. They are all limiting beliefs. Be aware of them and start to observe them, because that will be your greatest gift. And from there, you need to instantly rebut them every time. Interrupt those thoughts every time and replace it with what you want. That is also how you're going to build neural pathways, new neural pathways in your brain. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether it's a language, whether it is a trigger, whether it is something that's pissing you off. Every time you interrupt it and you swap it for the way that you actually want to think, you actually want to behave, you actually want to react, all of it. Every time you interrupt yourself, you interrupt those little micro behaviors and habits, because thoughts are just a habit. Every time you interrupt those, you begin to fire new neurons together. Remembering the neurons that fire together wire together. To be able to rewire your mind for success and reprogram yourself to become your highest consciousness, your most wealthiest self, the most abundant self, the most successful self, you need to be able to observe yourself and interrupt yourself. And it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, but it 100% works, because I know for a fact that these were the things that I had to do again and again and again and again and again and again. And sometimes I'd be like, what is wrong with me? Why do I have so much to work on? But I was spiraling. I was very judgmental. I would blame other people. I wouldn't take full responsibility. I would say the worst things to myself. I would hold myself back. I always felt that my success was out of my hands and it was someone else that had to do it for me or create it for me, because I had all these stories and low self-worth and I was very insecure and there was all these things. The person that I've become today is because of these habits. These habits of just taking responsibility and looking very deep, very long, very hard on me. And every single time that I would notice a reaction or a behavior or a thought or a feeling or a trigger, that I would interrupt it. And sometimes too, I didn't always get it right, and neither will you. Sometimes you might say things, do things, act in a way or react in a way that is not of your highest self, and it's not something that you're proud of. But again, we're human, we make mistakes. At least you've just got to acknowledge it, pick it up, move on. Sometimes I would even spit something out my mouth, like I would hear me say something and then I would instantly out loud, nope, that's actually not what I mean. This is what I mean. Or this is what I choose to believe. Nope, I shouldn't have said that. This is actually what I want to say. And I would immediately repeat the thing that I actually wanted to think or do or be. I would instantly reframe it. So if I spat out words of judgment, of fear, of doubt, of blame, of insecurity, whatever it was, I would instantly rebut it and reframe it and spit out what I actually wanted, because you are always listening to you. Whether it is in your mind or whether it is physical words that are actually coming out your mouth, you are always listening to you. So it's a big thing when it comes to even gossiping, when you are saying things out loud and you're talking about someone else, your brain doesn't know whether you're talking about someone else or whether you're talking about you. It just hears you constantly saying these things, and it could be about someone else, but your brain is actually taking it on as you because it listens to you. Very interesting. But anyway, I think we'll wrap up there. Go and check out last week's episode 120, and also episode 10 and 12 of the podcast, because you will love them. And I know they're going to ignite a fire in you to just go out and claim 2025. But honestly, the world needs more kind-hearted women like you with deep pockets. And you are the only one stopping you from claiming it all and having it all. Everything you want to be, do, and have. It is yours, and it's just on the other side of your own resistance. And yes, there is a lot of resistance when you start doing this work and you start going really, really deep. But don't overcomplicate it. Don't overanalyze it. And you do not need every tool or trick or ritual under the sun in order for it to happen. The simplest way to rewire your brain is literally to interrupt it and think or say something different. What is in line with your higher self? If you don't know what is in line with your higher self or who that is or what she stands for, then you need to sit in contemplation with yourself. Think and listen to yourself more than what you speak, and the answers, I promise you, will come about. But you are here for so much. This year is a gift. Every day that we wake up is an absolute gift. But here we are. It's the beginning of the year. You have a lot to do. So do I. So let's go and make this the year when everything comes together. And you can have my mantra if you would like. It's time to go big or to go home. Or my other one that I absolutely love, and I've been repeating this to myself for years and years and years, and again, repetition. This is a saying that my husband and I both say, but we always say it's all coming together. No matter the struggle, no matter the pain, no matter what's going right or what's going wrong, we've had our fair share of shitstorms over the years, but we'd always say to each other, it's all coming together, because we always held that optimism. Again, great habit for success, but it always held the optimism that it was going to work out. And no matter what it was, even whether it was good, bad, ugly, I would just take the lesson and I would move on from that because it's all coming together. And so I truly now believe it's all coming together, and it will all come together exactly as I planned, if not better, because I've repeated that to myself so many times that it's just the way that I am now. I will hand that one off to you as well. It's all coming together. Okay, I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of the incredible future episodes and guests that we have coming up for you. And if you haven't already subscribed to our email list, be sure to do so, because we have some pretty epic things coming this year, as well as a mini magazine that will be sent to our subscribers every single month to help you with all things money and mindset, personal development, and entrepreneurship, to help support you on your journey. So until next time, the world needs more kind-hearted women like you with deep pockets. So keep moving forward and never give up. I'll catch you in the next episode.